This video is sponsored by me. Read my original novel, Dance of Frozen Death. Link in the description. Greetings, fellow mortals. Recently, my wife was in a rom-com mood. That means I had to search desperately for a movie that she wouldn't think is too pandering. She doesn't expect a masterpiece or anything, but she wants something enjoyable. As a married man, this is a regular occurrence for me. This time, I suggested He's Just Not That Into You because I like a few of the actors and actresses involved in it, and it was surprisingly good, but there was one aspect of it that stuck out in my mind more than anything else. Miraculous romance stories are the exception, not the norm. It really got me thinking about the most prominent relationships I've seen in both my actual life and in fiction. My parents had an unconventional relationship, to say the least. Saul and Kim had an insane relationship in Better Call Saul. My wife and I fell in love under unique circumstances, and the subject of this video, Andy and April, were a couple that I did not believe would last when I first saw them flirting in Parks and Rec. And boy, was I wrong. In fact, they're my favorite relationship in the entire show. In fact, they might be one of my favorite relationships in fiction. In a lot of ways, Andy and April are a couple that really never should have worked out, both from the writer's perspective and from the in-universe perspective. If you don't know, Andy wasn't even intended to stay past the first season of Parks and Rec, but Chris Pratt was so funny and charismatic in his role that he made a spot for himself in the following seasons. It's just like with Aaron Paul and Jesse with Breaking Bad, and thank God both circumstances worked out. It's impossible to imagine either series without those key characters in them. So it's obvious to say that Andy and April were not intended to be together in the first season, and it's hard to imagine that the writers thought that they would be the longest lasting and arguably the strongest relationship throughout the entire show. After all, the series pointed out the many reasons that the duo should not have worked out as a couple. If they wanted to, the creators could have had Andy and April break up after a short period, or never even been together. Isn't that alternate reality really weird to think about?
Really makes you think.
Because there are things that made even Andy, the goofball man who can be completely oblivious to everything around him, think twice. April is 9 years younger than him. That's close to a decade. That's a huge jump in difference in age and maturity. At least, usually. I know, Andy and maturity don't exactly go hand in hand with each other. But he did think hard about being in a relationship with a girl who was born right when he was probably in the 4th grade based on Indiana enrollment ages. It's weird to think about, and it probably made him feel really creepy. But there's a reason that the shipping worked both in universe in the show and from the audience's perspective. Andy did not act creepily around April. He did not view her sexually until they started to grow very close as friends. There was no intention to use or abuse her, and that was clear to everyone who observed them. All of the characters supported this couple. Everyone in the audience supported them because their relationship was initiated from a deep emotional connection. So in this case, the age gap isn't important, and it did help that they were very close to the same level of maturity despite the difference in their lifespan.
Oh, that's really mature, saying exactly what I said.
April is below the American drinking age at the start of the series. Andy is kind of a man-child. They both have a lot of growing up to do, but they do it together. And that's the most beautiful aspect of their relationship, besides their amazing chemistry and humor. The duo grows and supports each other. Their change in perspective and desires throughout the series mimics each other all the way up to the series finale. If there are any characters who have the most consistent visual and overall growth in Parks and Rec, it would be Andy and April. Even with relationships like Ben and Leslie, my second favorite from the series, they're already established adults. You don't see them shift into drastically different people. They do evolve, but not in the way that Andy and April do. By the time the show is over, the ending version of those two characters are far removed from their original counterparts, and it's insane. They grow into amazing people with strong connection to others and their own successful careers. Their support of each other in their development endear the audience to them because it reminds them of an actually healthy relationship. Because if you don't know, there are a lot of people who care about shipping in fiction. It doesn't matter what series there is, if there is romance in a relationship, people are going to care, and I think that passion for storytelling is good. I want it to continue.
It's still real to me, damn it!
And perhaps I'm just overly fond of Andy and April because they are mirrors in my relationship with my wife. There is an age gap. Granted, the 5-year age gap is opposite. My wife is 5 years older than me. I'm also the more artistic type of the two of us. And I was rather lost in what I wanted to do with my life when I first started dating her. I've changed a lot in the 4 years that we've been together, and she's helped me find the courage to put my thoughts and writing out into the world. Meanwhile, I've supported her through family issues, health problems, and career shifts. From the outside looking in, our relationship should not work. We are not the norm. Just like Andy and April aren't the norm. Just like Leslie and Ben. Just like, here, let me look this up real quick. Gigi and Alex from He's Just Not That Into You. They aren't the norm, but I don't know many relationships in real life and fiction that I would classify as quote unquote the norm. Every single romance is unique. There isn't a formula to how this all works. You could find problems with all of them. High school sweethearts, large age gaps, met online, met at work, met at a bar, met through friend connections. It's all different, and I find that very interesting.
Oh, beautiful.
As a happily married man, I can't give a lot of advice in meeting your significant other. I decided to give up on dating for a bit. I worked on getting in great shape and dived into my hobbies. My good friend's sister found out that I like writing. She demanded to read my work. We started talking for hours and hours about everything, and we fell in love. And it's not anything mind-blowing, but I wouldn't suggest anyone try that method. It probably will not work out for you. But what works for you can be completely different. The line between romantic and creepy is decided if both parties enjoy it. If April wasn't into Andy, their relationship would have been very different. Ben was Leslie's boss at many points in Parks and Rec, and some of my other favorite romances happen to be completely unconventional. And because this is my first life, the main romance happens when the main characters married each other out of convenience. In The Glory, two people traumatized by their past comfort each other through revenge. In Better Call Saul, Saul and Kim you know what? That might not be a good example.
Walk out the door, you see someone that you know, and they ask you how you are, and you just have to say that you're fine when you're not really fine, but you just can't get into it because they would never understand.
But I could just sit here and name odd relationships in fiction and reality that worked out beautifully. Each story is unique. It could be a complete mess, like with When Harry Met Sally, Sleeping with Other People, or How I Met Your Mother. I could even bring in something like Love is Blind, which is a trash show that I love to watch. Season 4 has been a giant mess, and it's actually my favorite so far. You know, I say this as I prepare for the ending and don't know how things work out. But if there are any positives and pure demonstrations of goodness from this trashy reality television show, it's Cameron and Lauren. Now, things might not be as amazing as it seems with them, but their love story is incredible. You could argue their success is a part of the reason why the show keeps going. The concept of meeting the love of your life without ever seeing their face is intriguing, and I love the drama. Sorry, not sorry, but I adore their story just as much as I adore Andy and April.
I am a man.
All of this might seem weird coming from a dude, but I love all types of stories, and there's something primal about a genuine love story. But I think that's the problem with the generic rom-coms or holding our own relationships to specific standards. Here's the thing, I think every single romantic story in real life is the exception. There are a million reasons why people should break up, but if you find your person, you have to fight through them. It's hard dedicating your life to someone else, but I can guarantee it's as fulfilling to experience as it is to watch, hear, and read. But what do you think? Please leave a comment down below. I'd love to hear your perspectives. And thank you so much for watching. If you like my takes on storytelling, please consider reading my original novel, Dance of Frozen Death, book 1 in the Written in Stone series, link in the description. And my second book, Above Heaven, will be released on May 1st, 2023. I hope that you will check them both out. I appreciate you. Do not despair.